I think we should talk a little bit about customer service. Let's take a little walk in the woods and share some thoughts on customer service. You know, my definition of customer service is taking care of the customer at all levels of the transaction process, be it before, during the sale, after the sale, when the customer has problems, when the customer is waiting for their order, all phases of the transaction process. It's dealing with the customer and using as little of the customer's time and resource as possible. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that if a customer has to call you with a question, if they're on hold for an hour and a half to get through, regardless of how good a job you do when you finally come to the phone, that's not doing a very good job. If the customer is tied up, has to write you letters, has to sit on hold, has to wait while you look up an answer, that's all using the customer's time. And I don't think that's a good idea. I think we should strive in service to save the customer as much time as we can. If the customer has a problem or a question, I think when they call us, the phone should be answered promptly and quickly. And I won't say as quickly as possible, because you need to make it quick. You need to make that possible. So the customer should be addressed quickly and promptly. The information should be gathered, and then the customer should be released. I'll call you back. We'll get the information or resolve the problem and get back in touch with you. The customer shouldn't have to waste their time while you fix the issue. So that's one point I want to get across. The other thing I want to get across is that customer service is not just about problems. Customer service is all phases of the sales process. It's every phase of the sales process, from the initial contact where the customer is just gathering information and exploring price and options, to the sales process itself, shipping, delivery, and any post-purchase problems. Customer service enters into all of those things. And I think we put too much focus or too much emphasis when we talk about customer service on problems. You know, I hear from companies that I work with all the time that, you know, if our customers have a problem, we take care of them right away. Well, that's great. But what about heading off problems? What about avoiding problems? What about making the whole process easier for customers? I would encourage companies to look at their total interactive process with the customer, from initial contact all the way through to post-sale service, and see if there are any ways that service can be improved for the customer. Now, what's the criteria? How do you determine whether this is good service or not good service? Look at the amount of time the customer has to spend for any part of the process. You know, when I buy something online, a lot of times I like to use PayPal. I prefer PayPal because I don't have to fill out any forms. If I say pay with PayPal, my address goes over to the merchant, everything goes over to the merchant as paid, and I'm done. One button click. If I'm buying from somewhere else other than Amazon and I use a credit card, then I have all these forms to fill out. And a lot of companies want you to enroll or register in a customer program. So I gotta fill out a bunch of stuff and create a password and a username. Oh, that username's taken. Password's gotta have a number in it. It's a pain in the neck. So that takes a lot of my time to buy an item. So that's the criteria for customer service at any part of the process. How much time does it take the customer? How much of the customer's time and resource is required to execute this part of the transaction? If you always work on reducing that, can I save the customer time in the sales process? Can I save the customer time in the shipping process? In other words, customer buys something from me, they have no idea when they're going to get it. So they have to call me and get a tracking number. Well, that takes their time and it takes their resource. They have to use time to call me, and they have to use their telephone to call me. If a customer buys something from me and I automatically send them a tracking number, I've saved the customer time and therefore rendered better service. So the criteria that you can use to measure how good your service is at every phase of every transaction is how much time and resource are you requiring the customer to put in to get through that phase. Think about it from that point of view, and you have a means to measure improvement, because if you can reduce the customer's time and resource involvement, you've improved your service. It's not just about touchy-feely stuff and how good and how happy is the customer, but it's something you can actually measure. And what you can measure is the time involvement. Reduce the time involvement of the customer for any phase of the transaction, and you've improved the service. That was good. Nice walk. Thanks for coming along.